this month in the Center for Spiritual Living has been about the unstatus quo. And my talk today is about being a catalyst for change, because it's really up to each of us. And last week I shared 3 of the Beatitudes of Jesus that present to us a new set of ideals that focus on love and humility rather than force and aggression. Because we're all faced with opportunities in our lives that are brilliantly disguised as impossible or uncomfortable situations. I know none of you have that. And interesting, did you know that in nature, no organism evolves unless it is challenged? In nature, the challenge in the environment the organism has to overcome to evolve. And that change is reflected then in its biology and its expression. So it's the challenge in their environment. So whether it's growing thicker fur to overcome cold in the winter, or growing longer legs, or greater fast twitch fibers to outrun your predators, the challenges cause the organism to adapt and evolve. Does that sound familiar? Because the same goes for us. We all have challenges with certain people, certain places, certain objects, certain times that we must overcome. So in order to change, we have to be challenged. Oh, darn it. So a lot of people think that because we think positively, then, life is just a merry. Well, no, things do happen. Of course they do. We're human. So the challenges in our lives, whether we like it or not, are actually here to help us change and evolve if we allow them to. So instead of playing victim and saying, ain't it awful, all the time, can we see those challenges as gifts and opportunities, as Richard talked about, to grow and let go? Remember last week, status, go. Right? The unstatus quo, status, go. So let's affirm, I am willing to adapt and evolve.
I am willing to adapt and evolve.
Again, I am willing to adapt and evolve.
I am willing to adapt and evolve.
And just notice for yourself, how does that feel? Can you put that on? It's just a curious option, maybe. Because I know, believe me, sometimes it's difficult to see a discomfort or an upset as a gift. And how to navigate it all. Especially if we carry trauma. And we all carry trauma. So in the Science of Mind magazine this month, they are talking a lot about trauma. And in psychology, trauma is essentially an experience of overwhelm that occurs anytime you're unable to process and integrate something. So in psychology, they talk about big traumas are referred to as big T traumas, like war, living in war, violent crime, abuse, poverty, when there's a life-death experience. Those are the big T's. The little T traumas are bullying, toxic relationships, things that over time reduce the quality of our life and cause chronic stress and possibly addiction of some kind. And trauma can also be caused by our body holding on to an experience, like a car accident, falling off a ladder, falling off a horse. Any shocking, unexpected physical event can create what are called microtraumas. And even our thoughts can be traumatic. And there are even biochemical toxins, such as mold and pesticides, that can traumatize us over time. I know, this feels a little heavy. But we understand that we're all carrying some kind of possible trauma in our own being, and when we're unable to integrate and resolve that trauma into a homeostasis, it can absolutely create overwhelm in our system and lasting stress in our body, mind, spirit. Because very few of us are immune from trauma. And even nowadays, you may have heard of generational trauma. Different parts of society that carry the generational trauma from their ancestors. So the good news is that there are ways and support now in so many areas to bring us to a better awareness of understanding if we are carrying trauma. And in our spiritual community here, we want to support everyone's right to be where they are and hold a place for their healing and return to wholeness. Right? The full theme this year is called Grand Rising. So my belief or my willingness to hold this community in that idea of the Grand Rising. So the first step is that we have to be willing to recognize and acknowledge that a trauma has even occurred. And then we can begin to use tools to integrate, release the stress response without having to go back and revisit the original experience. That's the good news. That's the old form. Because, you know, our bodies are incredibly intelligent, aren't they? And our mind, body, spirit is actually always working in our favor. It's doing the best it can for us to survive and thrive. And the thing I love about this philosophy of the science of mind is we provide a foundation of principles to support and facilitate healing on whatever level it is. And sometimes we have to go beyond just spiritual mind treatment, which is what we're known for, and take action. Go to a doctor, get a treatment to promote healing, wholeness, and compassion. So we don't just do a spiritual, what they call a spiritual bypass. Right? So in the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes says, "We are not so cold-blooded as to say to a person with pain that there is no such thing as pain. That is not our ideal or purpose. We admit the fact. It is quite a different thing to admit its necessity." Hear that. To admit its necessity, whether that pain is physical or emotional. So the philosophy we have here is meant to inspire and connect us to our own support through our own inner divinity. So what continues to drive our stress? You all know for yourself. You got something. We all do. So, do you tend to have more bad days than good days? Just notice. You don't have to answer. We all ride a roller coaster of good and bad days, but has it become a dysfunctional life for you? That's when you want to pay attention. When a reaction or a symptom shows up, instead of pushing it away or fighting it, be with it. Get support around it. Ask, what is this calling for me? Because trauma gets stored in our physical bodies. It changes our posture, it changes our pain response, it changes our attitude, right? So when we start to recognize discomfort, disconnect in the mind-body connection, we can get relief with simple exercises that release that tension. So again, in the Science of Mind, we treat, right? We do treatment. But we also say treat and move your feet, right? Because we have other options to support us in our healing. And healing trauma, both physical and mental, usually requires more action So to heal, we can listen to that inner presence within to guide us into whatever course of action that is. You know, I've been a yoga instructor and a somatic practitioner for over 35 years, and I am a strong believer in understanding of different somatic practices of the mind-body. And I teach it to my clients. We do it here. We hold our hand on our heart. We do breathing. All of that helps to support that stress. So some of the ways and tools we can use are, first of all, again, just awareness of our thoughts and emotions. Just being aware, like, wow, I'm really off kilter here, or wow, I'm feeling this. Being curious. Having techniques to manage and process our emotions. Emotions are just energy. They're not good or bad. Having cognitive behavioral strategies. Practicing mindfulness. Practicing nonviolent communication concepts. Mindset changes. Doing breath work. Meditation, body work. Doing vagus nerve stimulation. Resetting our parasympathetic nervous system. I do it every day, more than once a day. And I've taught many of you how to do that. They're simple techniques. Even nutrition. Pay attention. You are what you eat. Remember that old saying, you are what you eat? Well, it's true. So junk social media, junk thoughts, junk politics are like junk food. What are you putting in? Because they ultimately distort and poison us. The junk. What food is to our physical health, spiritual practices are to our mental health. Right? I know you all know this, but sometimes we need to hear it again. Because both of them reconnect us to our true spiritual nature. Remember, we are not powerless to change our lives. And sometimes the smallest shift of awareness can lead to big results. And I've seen that with so many of you. Just a small shift. Our right and loving actions today are our spiritual insurance for tomorrow. I just read that the other day from Ernest Holmes. Spiritual insurance for tomorrow. Our right and loving actions today, right now, are going to support us tomorrow. Last week I talked about the meek shall inherit the earth, remember? Meek is not weak. Meek is a pliable understanding. So when we become pliable and understanding, we overcome our conditions in life. Is this making sense?
Yes.
So another thing the community is talking a lot about right now is being trauma-informed. Because here we say we're inclusive and welcoming, and we often expect others to fit right into the norms of our community rather than accepting people as they are, in just subtle little ways. For example, many of us are huggers. And while reaching for a stranger that comes in and we hug them without asking their consent can be a trigger for some people. If they've had trauma or they're not comfortable with people they don't know. So I invite all of us to just think about that. If you tend to do that, to just take a moment and ask someone, would you like a hug? And if they say no, you say, okay, great, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I mean, that's a tiny little thing, but it's an important thing to recognize. Ernest Holmes said, through a conscious acceptance of the fullness of the presence of God, there flows in and through each of us a joy, a love, and a wholeness that touches every part of our being. And sometimes we can't see that or feel that, but it's there. That's why myself as a practitioner and minister, and Reverend Maggie and Amada, our are here to support you in holding that, what we call mountaintop or high consciousness, high watch. So let's affirm this. I accept the joy, love, and wholeness of spirit.
I accept the joy, love, and wholeness of spirit.
Again, I accept the love, joy, and wholeness of spirit.
I accept the love, joy, and wholeness of spirit.
Take a breath. Catalyst for change. So are you contributing to change or to staying the same? Are you in the status quo or the unstatus quo, status quo? Remember, if you meet challenges from the same level of mind through your memories, and you respond emotionally in the same way, you're living by the same energy every day, you're living by the same level of consciousness because you're responding to the same people and the same problems and conditions in the same way. What did Einstein say? I said it last week.
Can't solve the problem.
You almost got it. We cannot solve our problems
Can't solve
with,
problems using
the
the
same
same
thinking
mind.
we used to create them. Albert Einstein. Brilliant mind. Therefore, in order to change that problem or challenge in your life, you would have to move to a greater level of consciousness than the consciousness or unconsciousness that created the problem in the first place. We know this. Where your attention goes, where energy flows. And again, remember the four kingdoms of consciousness. Are we stuck in victim mode? We all go through that. It's that. I mean, but we don't have to pitch a tent there, I like to say. There are possibilities for you. So are you giving your power to change away to that person, that circumstance, that challenge? Because then you could be one of the reasons why that problem isn't changing, because you're not changing. Take a breath. I just thought it's really about responsibility, isn't it? I affirm, I take back my power and I connect with spirit.
I take back my power and I connect with spirit.
Again, I take back my power and I connect with spirit.
I take back my power and I connect with spirit.
That's something we can say every time that little thing comes up that pokes us. No, I take back my power and I reconnect to my spirit. Because I guarantee you something has to shift when you do that. Because again, what if this discomfort is an opportunity to remind you that you are pure consciousness, that you are an individualized center of God consciousness? Oh. I always say when I hear that, it makes me sit up straight. I am an individualized center of God consciousness. Whoa, I gotta watch out. I'm powerful. You're powerful. You know, in theoretical physics, that void of the quantum field is pure consciousness. And it's a place where infinite possibilities exist in unmanifest, non-physical form. So we always, always, always have an opportunity to plant a seed. When we become conscious, we plant a seed of a new possibility where a challenge no longer exists. We can visualize that and then change. The consciousness then produces a change in energy, and a demonstration or a manifestation will happen. It has to. That's the law. That's just the way the universal law works. So I invite you to be really aware and protective of your mind at the beginning of every day. When you get up, what are you thinking to yourself? What are you saying to yourself? Right? First thing when you wake up. Thank you for this day. oh my gosh, I got too much to do, I can't pay my, whatever it is. Pay attention, because you're planting a seed. One moment of forgiveness can redirect a relationship. One moment of a kind, generous comment can open a new door. One saying of thank you can release you. So we're going to do a little inner work this morning. I invite you to just settle into your chair. You can put your papers down or whatever. And feel your feet on Mother Earth. And if it's comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes and drop from your busy thinking mind into your feeling heart. And I ask you just to contemplate these questions in your own mind, bless you. What does support look like to you? What does support for you look like? How have you applied the science of mind principles and practices to heal your own trauma, if you have? Do you use prayer, forgiveness practices, or meditation to bring you to a place of peace? And if not, are you willing to start? Are you willing to apply this teaching to your own life to identify, address, and heal any personal trauma? And be grateful for any insights or understandings you just gained. And we'll do a simple mindfulness practice to release tension and stress. So notice where you feel tension in your body right now. Just notice. And go into that place of tightness or tension and see it as an invitation to relax it and let it go. And breathe. Connect to the ground beneath you. And simply breathe in peace in that area. The idea of peace. And release anything that is unlike peace in that area. So I'm going to invite you on the count of 3 to exhale loudly. And what we're going to do is exhale anything that has gone before this moment that is uncomfortable. You're just going to let it go with a loud exhale. So we breathe in 1, 2, 3. So as we breathe in, you're going to feel the idea of peace and allow that to course through your body, mind, spirit. And as you exhale, you're going to release anything unlike peace. 1, 2, 3. And again, breathing in peace. 1, 2, 3. Exhaling, releasing anything that is unlike peace. Choose your imagination. And once more. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale and release anything unlike peace. And I'll close this mindfulness practice today with a beautiful reading from Reverend Christine Green and her book, Conscious Choice. Let your mind and heart release all that disturbs you. Let your body be still. And all the frettings of your body and all that surrounds it. Let the earth and the sea and the air be still, and heaven itself. And then think of spirit as streaming, pouring, rushing, shining into you, through you, and out from you in all directions, while you sit quietly. So this day, I invite you to be that peace in the world, present to yourself and all those you encounter this day. Peace. 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 And take a deeper breath. Feel your feet. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and return. Notice how you feel, just what your awareness is. That's a very simple mindfulness practice. So it's important that we each begin to be a catalyst for change, for ourselves first, to adapt and evolve, to listen and support one another through our own healing journeys, rather than disregarding or pushing away any trauma or discomfort or pain that naturally comes with being human. So let us notice and find that connection of our divinity with our humanity and allow the Science of Mind principles to lead us to real practices that support our growth and healing. Because everyone deserves to be treated with kindness, grace, and compassion. Everyone. As we walk one another home. Yes? Yes. So let's take that into prayer. How grateful I am to recognize that we're here together by divine appointment to open this beautiful community of the Foothill Center, to raise up our consciousness, open our hearts to the possibility of wholeness, of healing, of love, of kindness for each other and ourselves. So I recognize the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient nature of the one heart, one power, one breath, one love, one infinite intelligence. And that each of us is open and receptive to this divine guidance right now. And so we don't have to know how to make this healing or whatever it is to happen, but we have to make it welcome. And so we're making it welcome right now. In this sacred holy moment, how good it is to know this truth. So I speak the word of peace for each of us this week. Peace of mind, peace in body. Knowing that something wonderful is happening for each of us. And I hold this community in the high watch with love, respect, and kindness. And I invite each of us to be the change that we want to see in the world, to be that catalyst for change right now. And so I simply let go and let God. And I say thank you for each of you for being here and being part of this community. And we just let it be.